All right, let's get into it. We are just 29 days into the Trump-Musk administration. That's it. It seems like doesn't seem longer. I feel like a year has passed.
It's like 4 years already.
It's been ridiculous. I just wish.
Already.
So we're 29 days into the Trump-Musk administration, and already there's no shortage of controversy, as some people would say, chaos and major shakeups. Whether you support them or not, what's happening right now is historic, from mass firings across the federal government to executive orders and international power moves. The first month has set the tone for what could be the most aggressive presidential term in modern history, and we've got a lot to break down. So let's go, because the past 29 days have been a ride. Let's start with aviation. Speaking of a ride, a devastating mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. left 67 people dead. But instead of addressing long-standing air traffic control shortages, President Trump instead blamed diversity, of all things, for the crash in January.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers.
Expertly said. Complex computer work.
Brilliant.
He said, I know, because I have common sense.
And then went on to spit that out. Days later, he fired hundreds of FAA staffers, including those responsible for radar and air traffic control maintenance. That's right. Just a few weeks after that aviation disaster, his administration is slashing the very agency tasked with preventing them. There have been 4 commercial airline crashes in the first month of Trump's administration. There was 2 in the whole 4 years of Joe Biden. Story number 1, because we got a lot to cover, guys. Let's move to foreign policy. President Trump stunned the world when he declared the U.S. would take over Gaza, quote unquote. His administration claims it's a strategy to bring stability, but the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already started moving forward with a Trump-backed plan to resettle parts of Gaza with Israeli citizens. So physically moving Palestinians out of Palestine. International leaders are calling this an outright occupation. The UN has condemned the move, and even Trump's allies in Congress are asking, how far does this go?
You've said before that the U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What is that?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it. We're going to get it going eventually, where a lot of jobs are going to be created for the people in the Middle East. It's going to be for the people in the Middle East, but I think it could be a diamond. It could be an absolute tremendous asset for the Middle East. And you're going to have peace. It's going to bring peace in the Middle East. Gaza.
Is this your first time hearing this? You look stunned when I read that story.
I don't think I watched that interview because I've been trying to back off of it a little bit. So I had not seen that particular interview.
Meanwhile, Ukraine is sounding the alarm. Despite stating that the war will be over within seconds of him getting back into office, Trump has not done so, so Ukraine fights on. But now, with U.S. military aid frozen, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is now calling for Europe to form its own army to combat Russia and Vladimir Putin. And on the other side, Marco Rubio just called Russia, quote unquote, an incredible opportunity for the U.S. Instead of pledging support for Ukraine, the Trump administration is shifting its focus away from European security and towards deals with Moscow. Here is what Marco Rubio had to say about the situation and how he's looking forward to an economic relationship with Russia.
The diplomatic one is one we hope to move pretty quickly on, because this involves the treatment of our respective missions. The second one will be difficult, which is the question of Ukraine and the end of that conflict. But I think that's essential in order for the third piece to even be possible, which is our ability to work together on other geopolitical matters of common interest, and of course, some pretty unique, potentially historic economic partnerships as well. The key that unlocks the door for those opportunities, however, is the end to this conflict.
In terms of
Crazy. Like, and we're not even halfway done with all of these stories. Eggs. Have you guys shopped for eggs lately? What's the eggs in your area looking like, Ty? How much are a carton of eggs? I know you don't really eat a lot of eggs.
$5. Are you that?
Oh, you've moved to eating eggs now? Look at you. Proud of you.
I didn't realize I didn't realize I didn't eat eggs at one point.
Yeah. Well, when I knew you didn't eat eggs. You
Really?
were egg people. Well, it's here. I mean, it was what, 15 years ago? So
We're in college. Like, who's frying up eggs in college?
Eggs? Well, I don't know what where he's shopping at, but I have not seen eggs under the price of $7. And for a 20, 21 or 20 count of eggs, it's $20 in the Giant right now.
$20? What are you doing with $20 of eggs?
So what I've heard is that for some reason, free range eggs are cheaper, and I've always purchased free range eggs, so they're a little bit cheaper than the white eggs at this point. I don't know why.
The Caucasian eggs.
I got free range eggs the other day for $5.
Now, a life hack. You said Wawa. Okay.
It was weird. Like, I went to Wawa and I was like, Wawa has eggs, and their eggs were like $4 and something. I don't know. I probably gonna get sick, but they were only like.
Wawa are using the same eggs that they use to make them sandwiches, and that's definitely that. It comes out of a carton.
So, yeah, I haven't tried the white eggs. I don't know how much those are costing.
Well, egg prices, as you can see right here, have soared. Life hack: if you want to go to Whole Foods, they have some of the lowest priced eggs on the market. So that's a recommendation. Gas stations are also cheaper than the grocery store at this point. For
Who's eating eggs at the gas station?
I think that's what Wawa is considered. Wawa's a gas station.
It's considered a gas station. Yes.
Yeah, but Wawa's a gas station you can eat out of.
How much are eggs in your area? Let us know in the comments. We want to have a little poll about this. This is interesting.
That would be interesting.
Highest they've ever been, though, across the nation. As you can see, they've soared to about $7 a carton average, up 22% in 2025 versus 2024. So that is definitely something else that Trump and Muskie are dealing with right now. So much for America first. And this is all because, sorry, what did you say?
They're dealing with it, or they're ignoring it?
That's something that they have on their desk, I guess you could say. And this is part of all Biden era farm subsidies that have expired since Biden has left the White House. So a lot of this is Trump's own doing, because he has decided to not continue such subsidies. And then there are the new power players in Washington. Tulsi Gabbard is new director of national intelligence. Robert Kennedy Jr. is now the health secretary, despite his history of vaccine skepticism. Linda McMahon, of all people, is now the Secretary of Education, despite being the wife of a serial rapist and having no formal educational leadership background. Pete Hegseth, I was pronouncing the G as a J for the longest time. That's why I stuttered there. Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense, despite not advancing in the Army and pivoting to Fox News. And then there's Elon Musk, who's officially named a special government employee, quote unquote, overseeing governmental efficiency efforts with the DOGE office, the Department of Government Efficiency. That's what that stands for. And Trump is now looking to add Canada to the mix, making them the 51st state, apparently. So things are in movement. Like I said, the first month, and we're still going, because speaking of Elon Musk, he's now deciding to fire a bunch of people in the federal government, including people who work for the FAA, and replacing them with SpaceX people, something that Trump claims that he knew nothing about.
Mr. President, given your concerns about corruption, you said that if there were any conflicts of interest with Elon Musk, you wouldn't let him anywhere near it.
That's right.
Doge and SpaceX employees are now working directly at the Federal Aviation Administration and the Defense Department, agencies that have billions of dollars in contracts with Musk's companies or that directly regulate his companies. How is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, I mean, I'm just hearing about it, and if there is, and he told me before I told him, but obviously I will not let there be any conflict of interest. He's done an amazing job. They've revealed, in fact, he's going to be on tonight, a big show called Sean Hannity at 9 o'clock, and he's on and I'm on, and we talk about a lot of different things. And any conflicts, I told Elon, any conflicts, you can't have anything to do with that. So anything to do with possibly even space, we won't let Elon partake in that.
Space, just generally space. Okay.
Is it me or does Trump look a little healthier? Like not running the country.
No, I will admit they got that dosage right. I don't know if he's off the Xannies and fools, or if he's just taking care of himself a little bit better. But he does seem a little more clear and coherent than he did the first time around.
There's no stress. He don't got to run the country this time. Elon's got it for him. He doesn't have to do anything but just sit there and look pretty. He's good.
So let's take a step back. It's been 29 days, less than a month, and we're already looking at a plane crash, mass firings at the FAA, aviation security cuts, a U.S. occupation of Gaza, Ukraine abandoned, Russia being courted, record high egg prices, a new cabinet with controversial names, IRS under Elon Musk's control, because you're not getting your tax returns, so kiss that goodbye, and a judge blocking the administration from seizing Treasury powers. So the question now is simple but serious. What has been the most alarming part of the first 29 days for you in this Trump administration? Dex, go ahead.
I don't think there's a specific thing that's alarming to me. I think it's all alarming. I think it's the explanations that he gives. So like these things will happen, they'll come up, and then he'll actually explain it. Like when they said that he's offering government employees a severance package or like 8 months or something like that of pay if they resign from their jobs. And he's like, yes, this is a good thing that we're doing this. And then you have Elon Musk doing press conferences from the Oval Office with his son there digging in his nose. And Donald Trump is just sitting there like, oh, no big deal here. This is all fine. Then the thing with they're rolling back DEI in public schools and they're threatening them, saying like, hey, look, if you don't get rid of this, like we're going to take away funding from public schools. And like
that's K through 12 and also colleges and universities.
Yes. And it's kind of one of those things like if you are threatening these people with this, they're going to roll these things back potentially. I'm sure a judge will probably step in and say like, this doesn't make any sense. But like these things are concerning to me. Like the explanations for the things that are happening is very concerning to me. The firings that are happening, very concerning to me.
Ty, to Dex's point, that is alarming. But what was most shocking to me was the flippant way and the flippant nature that he discussed what's going to happen to Gaza and how basically it's just going to belong to him. And he's going to do whatever he wants with it. And he doesn't even have to pay for it because, it's war torn and we're going to build it up. And it's going to be great for the Arab community over there because we're going to give them jobs. Like, to me, that's crazy. That is insane to hear. What was the most crazy thing that you heard in that whole diatribe?
Like there were some early on jokes about Gaza being a great beachfront property.
Yeah.
And some things like that. And then like later on, in comments saying, no, we don't have to pay for it. What are we gonna do? We're gonna take it. Like you essentially said, we're gonna take it. We don't own it. Like what are you talking about? And it's like, oh, we're gonna build it up nicely. It's so odd that nobody cares about any of this stuff. Like, I think that's the most alarming thing to me. It's not what he's doing. It's the fact that it doesn't seem like anyone cares. It's like, oh, this is okay. Like, do you guys recall when they said like Obama was being a dictator because he was essentially ruling with executive orders? And now we're like proud that Trump signed 60 billion executive orders in his first 30 days of office. And like, nope, nobody cares. I haven't decided what approach I'm taking yet. Like, am I just going to disengage? Am I going to over-engage? I honestly am taking some time to decide on my approach because this is utter and absolute chaos.
It's insanity. And honestly, it was hard for me. Like, the reason we didn't come back until this week was because it was just hard for me to even fathom having to read all these stories and digest the news again and read all the horrors that are on the way. It's disheartening to even encapsulate and put the show together sometimes, because I have to read all this crap, right? I have to understand what's going on and the dangers that are happening. I have to formulate questions around that. So that's why it took me so long to come back, because I was like, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't want to come back, honestly.
I still have like not been watching like the news stations like CNN, Fox, MSNBC. I just, since the election, like I just cannot do it, and it's getting so bad that I feel like sometimes you can turn politics off. Like, we do the show and we have to like do a little segment on politics, whatever. So like you do that, but I feel like it's ingrained in our everyday life now. Like we're talking about politics affecting the price of eggs. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things like you literally cannot escape it at this point.
And literally the first 29 days. Like, It's not even like we're 6 months in. Like, this is the first month.
Yeah, I guess the craziest part for me is like this, not the craziest part, because like I think it will be difficult for anybody to say the craziest part because it's all crazy. But one thing that's standing out right now for me is the massive amount of people who stated that their sole purpose for voting for Donald Trump, in spite of some of the concerns that they had, was that he is what amazing things he would do for the economy.
Right.
And I don't feel that any of those moves that he made, a lot of them were like dog whistling, cultural war stuff. Like none of that stuff is important. Now, I have my feelings about DEI that I don't know if I'll discuss here right now. But a lot of that stuff, in my opinion, has been a dog and pony show. So some of it I don't care.
It always is. Like, look at the term woke. Look at, the, what was it? CRT, critical race theory. Like, that's what they all are. They just pick a word that basically they translate to black, and they decide to use it over and over and over and over again.
Drive it. And the point, I mean, what is the purpose of all that? And it's just like making a bunch of people angry. And I always think that Trump's agenda has always been the same from the very beginning, which is to enrich himself and his friends. And I think all 100%. The things that you're doing outside of that are major distractions. So I'm trying to
that was his present.
I'm trying to like see through some of that stuff, like the massive amount of stores and stuff that people are needing to now protest because they've gotten rid of all their DEI initiatives, and just all this stuff. I'm really trying to not focus on all that stuff. I'm trying to like, what exactly is Trump doing?
The Palestine, in my opinion, and I'm just going to come straight out and say it. My theory is that the Palestine situation is that the agreement was he'll let Netanyahu do whatever he wants to do. He'll be on Netanyahu. He'll have Netanyahu's back. He'll have Israel's back for all that stuff. He'll have they'll have access to the U.S. military and all that jazz. But the exchange is Trump gets Palestine, and at the end of the day, he gets that strip of land that they're vacating, and however long that is, that's what it's going to be. And that was the agreement that they made. Trump is a deal maker. We all know this. So the fact that anyone thought that this was going to be any sort of, honest appropriation of land where the Palestinians would be able to move back into their own native land, like that died as soon as Kamala Harris lost that election. And that's just what it was.
I mean, I don't really, I never, like, I guess for me, like, I don't really dive into thoughts about like what's happening over there. I'm always like so focused of what's happening here. And it's just, maybe I'm like distracted by this stuff because like these companies rolling back DEI stuff, like this is, I care. Like I am like those people. I don't necessarily protest, but like I am those people that's like, I'm concerned about that. I
think one thing that also disgusts me, honestly, Dex, is how companies and people have just groveled immediately to whatever Trump wants to do. Like, it hasn't even been a month. You haven't even put up a fight. It's like automatically we're going to change our stances. We're going to change our policies, and we're going to adapt to whatever the hell Trump says to do. Like, what are you doing?
He didn't even say like a penalty. He didn't say, like, for instance, with the school board, he said like, I'm going to take away your funding. He didn't say nothing about Target. Like, he didn't say nothing about these companies that you guys are rolling this.
They're just willingly doing
at all.
So that's how you know what they were always interested in. Like, and that's what it is. All right.